If you're enjoying the Health Geeks Book Club podcast, we'd appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, leave a like, rating, or review, whichever your preferred podcatcher platform allows.
This episode is sponsored by Well Balanced Nutrition and 360 Health.
Welcome to the Health Geeks Book Club podcast. Listen in as Kristen Norton and Eleanor Russell review all those great health and wellness books you've been wanting to read or you have read and want to talk about. Here's Kristen and Eleanor.
Hello, everybody. It's the Health Geeks Book Club podcast, and we have picked up one of my old books because I have been collecting these health and wellness books for a long time, and it was just recently that I found Kristen Norton, who will talk to me about these kinds of books. So this is 2022, but this book was written in 2005. And it has influenced a whole marketing campaign that is still very engaged, I think, because I see them referenced on labels and drinks and things like that. This book is called Skinny Bitch. And it's a no-nonsense, tough love guide for savvy girls who want to stop eating crap and start looking fabulous by Roy Friedman and Kim Barnuen. I'm not sure I'm giving her name the proper pronunciation. Excuse me if I didn't. But Roy Friedman is a former agent at Ford Models and a self-taught know-it-all. And Kim Barnuen is a former model who holds a master's degree in science in holistic nutrition. They've successfully counseled models, actors, athletes, and other professionals using the Skinny Bitch method, and they live in Los Angeles. Now, don't you want to read this book? Oh, you just don't. You just got to pick it up and read it.
Let me start with a trigger warning because
Okay.
this conversation will likely go into disordered eating and eating disorders. But gosh, what encouraged you to pick this book back up from your library?
Well, it said bitch.
Oh, now I'm a lady. And I do not like foul language, even though I use it. And who is it dedicated to? This is also kind of interesting, too. It's for Tony Robbins and Dr. Wayne Dyer. With much love and appreciation. It is because of your work that this book exists. Now, I wonder what they say when they read the book. And it's for all the truth speakers and seekers who have made the world a better place while dramatically influencing our lives. We thank you and honor all that you have done and continue to do in the name of what is right. Namaste. Namaste.
Seriously,
Is that like
what
your
made
get
you-
out of jail free card by saying namaste?
No, what made you buy that book or notice it again? 'Cause
Well, yeah, I think it's a number one New York Times bestseller. So it was a hot book.
in 2005.
Mm-hmm. And, there are all these skinny bitch drinks and there are these skinny bitch diet foods.
Yeah, I've seen salad dressings.
Yeah.
And like margarita mixes and such like
Things
that.
that we kind of like, health food.
Yeah. So I didn't know that that's where it came from. And this book came out when I was in college. So I wasn't aware of it. And when I was reading it, so Eleanor, you're like, what do you think of this book? Just read through it and let me know what you think. And oh boy, do I have some opinions about it.
Well, before we get to the abrasive opinions, I will say that what I liked about it, and then you can tear me apart, was some of the focus. They don't really have a table of contents in here, which, oh, yes, they do. They talk about sugar, and they talk about dairy, and they talk about farming, and they talk about government regulations in a way that I think Mark Hyman has also talked about in his Food Fix book, and that we run across in other discussions of what should we put in our mouth and how and why. Now, the way they talk about it is interesting. So you want to take off on one of your irritation points?
Well, just kind of explain it first. They took what I think Eleanor described as a tough love perspective. Yes. And is it in the back where they're like, we just took this tough love to get attention?
Yeah, we have a confession to make. We really couldn't care less about being skinny. even that's their name. Don't get scared or upset. We will definitely lose weight if you adopt the skinny bitch lifestyle. However, our real hope is for you to become healthy. We don't want anyone to be obsessed with getting skinny. When you eat right and exercise, you feel strong and healthy and confident. You start loving your body not because you lose weight, but because you feel great. It's an inside job. You're finally treating your body like the temple it is.
So that is the very last page of the book, and nothing like what is in the meat
body of the book.
It. Yes.
The 220 pages.
It is full of shaming and blaming and negativity, demonizing food, fear-based language. It was like saying one thing and then, oh no, never mind. We don't really care about skinny. But we just sat there and called you fat and made you feel ashamed that you liked sugar. And I'm like, really? This is gaslighting, if I've ever seen it, right?
Now tell me what gaslighting means.
So it's a way of making you think, like, question your reality. So if you're saying, this is not a diet, this is a lifestyle, and you may not eat any sugar, it is the devil. You may not eat any animal products.
Oh, you mean dead,
terrible.
rotting, decomposing flesh?
Yes, but this is not a diet. So doesn't that make you question reality? How is that not a diet if you are eliminating food groups? Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, it is. So I was just baffled that, that page at the back, it's like, well, then why did you prey on everybody's insecurities and, cause disordered eating thoughts if you really didn't care about that? And to start the book off saying skinny equals healthy, fat equals unhealthy. A, that is not true. And B, why did you even say that if you didn't care about being skinny?
Mm-hmm. And it is on chapter 1, that's the second sentence. Oh, you need to get healthy if you want to get skinny. And then they said healthy equals skinny, unhealthy equals fat.
Yeah. Oh, my blood boiled when I read that.
I can't believe you turned the page past that.
I can't either.
Well, they have at the back of the afterword, I'm going to read that to you too. Isn't man an amazing animal? He kills wildlife by the millions in order to protect his domestic animals and their feed. Then he kills domestic animals by the billions and eats them. This in turn kills man by the millions because eating all those animals leads to degenerative and fatal health conditions like heart disease, kidney disease, and cancer. So then man tortures and kills millions more animals to look for cures for these diseases. Elsewhere, millions of other human beings are being killed by hunger and malnutrition because food they could eat is being used to fatten domestic animals. Meanwhile, some people are dying of sad laughter at the absurdity of man, who kills so easily and so violently and once a year sends out cards praying for peace on earth.
What?
What? Okay.
So in here there was I felt a drive to convert people to vegetarianism.
Yeah, I think, and it's veganism, really.
Oh, yeah, vegan, yeah, absolutely, because nothing animal produced.
Right. So I think they were so passionate about veganism that they wanted to, ride out the diet industry ride. Get on that roller coaster to get the fame and the message out, because they know everybody just wants to do anything to be skinny, which is a problem in itself. And so they're like, well, if we tell people how to get skinny in the Skinny Bitch book, then we can convert more people into veganism. But what I think they did is started lots of eating disorders.
I would say...
I think veganism is a eating disorder.
I think it's all about what's behind your reason for it. But I can see where you're coming from.
Well, Tim and I like to eat.
Yeah.
And the flavors of the world, and don't want to be restricted necessarily to not enjoy some of them, right?
I don't want to be restricted either.
Yeah.
I will 100% agree that plants are good for you. And in fact, I try to promote 75% of your food should be from plants.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like we have to completely eliminate it. And I feel like we can do a lot more to improve animal welfare and
farming practices
for our environment. That doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach, and it doesn't have to mean that we all have to go vegan.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the pictures, the illustrations in here of this cartoon woman with, skeletal features and a big bump and big boobs and lifting a weight, drives home? And, we've talked about illustrations in the books that we're reading.
Yeah.
There's a subliminal effect that they can have. And when you see this gorgeous, what we would say, if you're programmed to say this is gorgeous, she's got her sunglasses. She looks like Audrey Hepburn going to, Moon River, going into the jewelry store. What's the big jewelry store? Tiffany's.
Yeah.
Very unrealistic.
Oh, proportions.
Proportions.
Sort of like the Barbie doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even worse than the Barbie doll.
Well, yeah. And these women that wrote the book have lived a life of modeling. And the advertising, to me, damage that we've done to generations of women by seeing these pictures of imperfect women and calling them perfect, and then striving to look like the imperfect woman who's not healthy, anorexic, who has all sorts of anxiety disorders because the bodies are not working properly,
right,
and so on and so forth. It's just a perpetuating problem that we need to correct. And actually, I think in the last 10 years, maybe 15, we're seeing more full-bodied women images and saying this can be healthy. It doesn't have to be skinny.
Exactly. I think what we've fallen into years after years is whatever celebrity is popular at that time, then everybody wants to look like that person instead of embracing body diversity and that we can be healthy at every size. Mm-hmm. And have healthy habits at every size, mm-hmm, without having to strive to be this one particular stick figure or image.
The uniformity of beauty instead of the diversity of beauty.
Yeah, the door's opening, but we still have a far way to go. Mm-hmm. But this book reminded me that we are starting to turn the page on this terrible.
So this is a historic book.
Diet perspective, yeah.
Well, their language is awful, and so here's a chapter 10, Don't Be a Pussy. And it says, what if all you had to do was follow a simple formula and maybe struggle for a month or two? What if you could reprogram your brain to actually enjoy healthy foods? Well, guess what? You can change your life. You can have the body you want for the rest of your life. You can enjoy healthy foods. All you have to do is follow a simple formula and be willing to delay gratification for a few months. A few months, that's it. Then you can enjoy a new body for the rest of your life. Don't be a pussy. You have all the nutritional information you need to become a skinny bitch. The rest is up to you.
So it seems like not only are they trying to convert you to what I think is unhealthy, says the fat man sitting in this room, but they're also being very condescending about it.
Yes.
And they're making fun of you. It's like they're pointing and snickering at you the whole time they're trying to tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's just from a very privileged, on a hill kind of point. Like they're looking down at you and pointing at you. And
well, Robert Davis was with us not too long ago,
yeah,
the health skeptic, and he wrote the book Supersized Lies.
Yes.
About the myths of weight loss. And, this thing about a couple of months, he said that's not to be believed.
BS?
Yeah.
You said bitch and pussy. Why not? Bullshit.
All right. Yeah, I guess I could. I'm just telling you what was in the book. I don't talk that way. The idea, though, that 2 years down the road, these things don't hold.
Right.
You can do anything in a few months and lose weight. He said there's so many programs that will say do this and lose, your body weight. Well, it's the idea of maintaining that body weight. And I'm not sure they really get into that very well in this book.
Yeah,
so,
maintain.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of that, one reason why it's hard to maintain is because this is the perfect setup mm-hmm. for binge eating disorder. Mm-hmm. So if I can break it down for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part is it promotes what I call dichotomous thinking. It's just black and white. This is good. This is bad. So literally saying sugar is the devil. Cheese will rule our lives and fatten our asses. Just really demonizing food. So that puts you into this. This
Good or
food
bad?
is good. This food is bad. So that is one of the common types of cognitive distortions that we see in eating disorders. And then it goes on. So if you're thinking in black and white, then you're starting to restrict those bad foods. And then ultimately you are exposed to it or end up eating it and then feel all of this shame and blame. And you can think back of these words in this book where they're making you feel bad about, oh my gosh, how in the world am I letting myself eat this pizza full of cheese? And
You're an awful person.
With a big smile on my face. That's how I allow me to do it.
So at one point in the book, they say, don't even trust yourself to take one bite, referring to all the foods they've demonized. And then later, a little bit later on, they say, we are powerless over addictions. They warn, it's very easy to obliterate all your progress with one bite, sip, or puff, because they do talk about cigarettes, which I'm all for quitting smoking. But so, well, ironically, this is because of the dangerous black and white thinking. That's why you can't trust yourself, because if you've gotten into this trap of good and bad, then you're going to be in this cycle of, I'm inevitably going to eat something that's on the bad list, and then I'm going to feel very shameful and just completely give up, maybe binge on it, and then I'm going to feel bad again and go into this restrictive mode and try to go back to this skinny bitch diet. And inevitably...
Because I'm unsatisfied.
Because I'm unsatisfied. I'm not getting what I want. And so they're kind of saying don't trust yourself, but they're the ones setting up that distrust with food. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like, whoa, here's how binge eating disorder starts.
Yeah.
Well, and also, again, this is back to, I guess, reading behind the scenes here or between the lines. They're telling you about good, bad food, but they're also trying to make you out to be a bad person if you step away for one day.
One sip.
Yeah, one sip.
Bite.
I mean, maybe somebody's birthday and you had a bite of cake. You're a bad person because of it. I do not like, I'm not Reddit, but I've got very strong opinions about the, I'll say it, idiots that wrote this book.
Well, they even quote Confucius, and they say, he really didn't say this. A hungry woman is like a tornado of red ants and wildebeests. But they think he should have said that because it's true. A hungry woman is a crazy woman who will destroy everything in her path to rid the hunger. So you must always be prepared with healthy food on hand. Otherwise, seriously, you will fall off the wagon almost immediately.
Okay, so do you think that this is a farce? I mean, do you think that
No, I know.
You don't think that they did this on purpose to just be funny?
That's what I kept going back and forth. And I'm like, I kind of want to think that because they say they've coached so many people. And I'm like, please don't tell me that they've shared this philosophy that much.
Because I don't know that anybody could be this obtuse.
Well, when they get into the trust no one, whether you love him or hate him, President Clinton's administration tried to implement a tough science-based food inspection system. Sad to say, however, these attempts were squashed when the Republican Party gained control of Congress in 1994. Schlosser revealed the meatpacking industry's allies in Congress worked hard to thwart modernization of the nation's meat inspection system. A great deal of effort was spent denying the federal government any authority to recall contaminated meat or impose civil fines on firms that knowingly ship contaminated products. The Clinton administration backed legislation to provide the USDA with the authority to demand meat recalls and impose civil fines on meat packers. But Republicans in Congress failed to enact not only that bill, but also similar legislation. Under current law, the USDA cannot demand a recall for contaminated meat. You can believe this. If a company decides voluntarily to recall contaminated meat, it is under no legal obligation to inform the public or even health official that the recall is taking place. So when they put that kind of, obviously somewhat biased, but also accurate, that you could track that down.
Yeah.
I think they are. I think they were serious about this book.
Yeah.
I don't think that it was a joke, because they have other little things in there also that cause concern, that I would say was backed by, like, Mark Hyman in his Food Fix book, that we have some problems with distribution of things that we would think were healthy and aren't.
Yeah, I mean, throughout I was like, okay, true, but, right? Like, there's maybe a little bit of truth to that, but the way that you're presenting it just ruins all credibility.
Inflammatory?
Yeah.
It's what Fox News does to information. They turn it around. They pick the pieces they want and throw it out as ultimate fact, and that's not how that works.
Which is what we're saying about reading these books. You need to know who's writing the book and what is their goal in writing the book, and what is, what's the context. And, this was 2005. All right, and this is 2022. So this influenced some people because a lot of people read it. It was a bestseller.
Right.
And whether they maintain this or they have been able to open their windows and say there's a better way.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But speaking of just kind of false news, there were two things I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah. Or you mean not just me, but the public here.
Sure. So one, there's not much discussion about it. I just want to kind of laugh at it. But they quoted another author who's similar in credibility, but that says when we eat fruit with other foods, it cannot pass through our bodies quickly, so it rots and ferments in our stomach. What in the actual heck? That's not true.
I don't think so. You've got, your stomach juices are working on, let's see, we got the amylase in the mouth, and then it gets down to your stomach and starts breaking apart the larger molecules, right? Mm-hmm. And it churns and grinds, and it doesn't sort out the fruit from the other stuff. It's all in the stomach, mixed them together, squirts it into your small intestine, that chyme. And then you've got the absorption that goes on. So I don't understand that either.
So one of their rules is you have to eat fruit alone and with nothing else. And I actually tell people a lot that you should probably eat fruit with a protein or a fat so that it creates more of a sustainable blood sugar
Exactly.
effect.
Oh, yes, because if you're only eating fruit, that sugar is going straight into the bloodstream, and you're going to get swings. And when you get the swings, you get the cravings.
Right.
Because you get depleted and the insulin pumps out, and all sorts of stuff's going on.
Exactly.
Mm.
So
What's the other one?
I'm going to maybe butcher the way you say it, but it was new to me, so I went down this rabbit hole. Percolate? Percholate. So it was in the section, EPA makes us sick. Percolate, which is used in rocket fuel, they write, finds
perchlorate.
Perchlorate?
Yeah, perchlorate.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Perchlorate. They write, finds its way into water used for growing feed crops. Cows eat it, and then their milk contains the components of rocket fuel. And they go on this rampage about, oh my gosh, why would you drink anything with rocket fuel? So I'm like, okay, let me Google this. Let me look it up. So it was, what is it? WHO? World Health Organization that I ended up on. So say it again. Percolate.
Perchlorate.
Percolate.
I think it has a chlorine in it. Okay. That's what's going on.
So it's naturally occurring, frequently detected in the environment. It is actually found in many places like our water, vegetables, especially leafy greens, which they're probably promoting that we eat a lot of.
Yeah, we can't eat those then. No, we can't have any of those.
No.
Who would want to eat that stuff?
We don't want rocket fuel. And that 20 out of 33 dietary supplements evaluated found levels of this in it. So
they didn't do Shackley, I bet.
Yeah. So Eleanor, you can talk about some quality supplements.
But about the perchlorate thing, I guess you would have to look at concentrations as well. Anytime that things are excessive, you might want to look at that. So that was an interesting rabbit hole. I'm glad you went down that one.
Yeah, it was just, I didn't find like conclusive information. And this thing comes about quite a bit in nutrition because you've got like arsenic and rice and these naturally occurring things it's about concentration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, arsenic comes from apple cores, right?
Seeds.
The seeds.
Yeah, that's why you don't eat the seeds.
Yeah, so it's...
As I haven't looked that up lately, but I have heard that wives' tale.
It's something to be aware of, but not necessarily something that you need to fear monger people with.
Yeah, and if you've read any of the other books, we've talked about the immune system.
Yes.
There are things that are innate in our body that kind of monitor some of these things and try to deal with them if we do get overexposures. Mm-hmm. So, well, okay. Anything else about this great book that we're going to table and maybe put a on as far as recommending?
Well, I don't recommend reading it. Absolutely not. But, I will say that...
Sorry, ladies. Not to, it takes some effort to write a book, and maybe you had fun doing this, but I hope you've written another one.
I think plants are awesome. I want to promote plants. I like that they have you at least consider, the amount of soda you're drinking. I don't like the way they set up foods as good or bad, but, we do need to limit our sugar intake. We got to watch our added sugar. They do promote like stevia, which is something I use, regular stevia and monk fruit as a different way to sweeten. So they talk about, don't give up your favorite foods, but maybe try this version with the stevia. And that's, I think, where they came up with their food line, right?
Perhaps so, yeah.
So there's tiny things that I can agree with in there. I'll just end on that positive note.
Well, yeah, and I would just say that the caution that I have is this whole focus on physical appearance rather than feeling good.
Absolutely. Even though they say it in bits and pieces, the whole main point is about how you look.
Yeah, and when we go into that world, I think we create bad dynamics. So I am glad that we reviewed it, though, because I think since we're in an eating culture, food is readily available to everybody, and so many people are getting compulsive about what do I put in my mouth, and we're beginning to have not only the eating disorders or that you mentioned, we're having the ones about just obsessed with what do I eat, that obsession, food obsession, which is not healthy either, because it should just be a small part of our day. It's just the fueling of the system, and it should be something that we socially can enjoy and celebrate. Those are things that culturally are good. And so excluding people over this topic. So I think just having a historic finger on the pulse about how we're changing our attitudes, we really are changing our attitudes. And I think it's in a positive direction.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm Eleanor at 360health4u.com, making healthy happen. And I would not recommend restricting yourself. And I would never, hopefully, talk to you the way these gals talk to their public.
And I'm Kristen Norton with Well Balanced Nutrition, where our friendly dietitians can help you have a much healthier relationship with food, cure any old diet habits that, this book might pull out. And we hope you really have a positive outlook on food and your body. And we would love to chat with you. Visit wellbalancednutrition.com to check out what we offer and see if a free clarity call would be right for you. Thanks for bringing this book to our attention.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks for setting us off. I'm kidding.
And opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and are not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted, and no part can be reproduced without the expressed written consent of Kristen and Eleanor.